Broski's got a battle here for you guys. It's UU against DR.Chaos. He has a channel, so go check him out. His link is in the description. And yeah, so there's my opponent's team in the blue, and all I can say about his team is that everything looks threatening. So yeah, that's enough said. And heads up, a little bit of a heads up. I make a few really bad over predictions that I really shouldn't have made in this battle, but oh well, you guys will get to see them. And yeah, so anyways, let's get to the battle. My opponent leads with the Victini as I lead my Weavile, and just because he led with it, I'm thinking that it might be Scarfed, so I go out into my Hitmontop to scout for that as he goes for the U-turn, and since he went for a U-turn on a Weavile, I'm pretty sure it is Scarfed. So now I bring some Slowbro, and I know Hitmontop can take a hit, so I'm just going to go for a Toxic because I want this thing Toxic. As he ends up going for a Thunder Wave here, you know, I guess he predicted my switch. That is fine. Hitmontop can take a Thunder Wave because it's slow, and yeah. So now I bring my Rose Raid because I thought this thing really wouldn't have anything to hit me with, but he ends up having the Psyshock, which is very unfortunate because it takes out my my Rose Raid. So now I bring my Weavile, and here I make a really bad over prediction. I predict this Rourke. I really don't know why I went for the Break. I just should have Night Slashed. It probably would have taken him out because it is max attack, adamant, life orb, stab, super effective. A bit whatever. Here I make a really bad over prediction, and I go for the Break. I guess he predicts me to over predict and goes down to his Victini, which was a pretty risky prediction just because if I would have just played it safe and gone for the Night Slash, that Victini would have died. And here I bring my Pert on the U-turn, as now he brings in Rose Raid, which is fine. Pretty much I can just switch out my Weavile because Weavile is kind of fodder because it is paralyzed, and I know I can take a hit because Weavile's got a pretty good special defensive stat, and I can just go for an Ice Shard. So he Sleep Powders, it fails, and I goes for a Sludge Bomb as I go for a Night Slash, bring him down to his Sash, and now I go for the Ice Shard. I end up getting paralyzed, which doesn't really matter just because the Rose Raid does die a little bit later on. So now I bring my Victini, and I'm just going to go for the U-turn as he brings the Hitmontop, and I end up getting a crit on the U-turn, which is like whatever, hacks is hacks, still doesn't do that much. And I bring my Mismagius because I know Mismagius walls most defensive Hitmontops, so I'm going to set up a sub here as he brings in Rose Raid as fodder, and I'm just going to take this thing out with a, I think I just go for the Shadow Ball. So yeah, it's going to die, and now he ends up bringing in a Victini, and I make a really bad play. I thought he would maybe just go, I thought he'd go for the V-Create, and I just go for another sub, but I just should have gone for like Shadow Ball or something. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He goes for a U-turn. Now he brings in Snorlax, and I know I need a +2 just to be able to do a decent amount of damage to this thing with the Hidden Power Fighting. So he goes for Pursuit to break my sub, and now I go for the Hidden Power Fighting. It does not too much, and now he goes for another Pursuit, and it does a little bit under half, which is really nice because I can get off another Hidden Power Fighting. You know, I really can't switch, and yeah, so go for another Hidden Power Fighting. This thing almost dies, but not really, and now I'm going to make a very risky play. I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball, predicting the Victini to come in, and luckily that is what happens. So finally, one of my predictions finally pays off, and yeah, that big threat is out of here. So I brings in Zoroark, and I probably should have switched down to Hitmontop predicting the Night Days, but you know, I don't know why I didn't do it, but whatever. Now I bring in my Hitmontop, and I'm going to try to take this thing out with a close combat, as he ends up going for the Flamethrower, and sadly here I end up getting paralyzed, which kind of comes into play a little bit later on, because, you know, this Zoroark, well, let's just say the Zoroark should be dead, but whatever. Now he brings in Slowbro, I end up getting paralyzed again, really didn't matter. All I would have gone for is close combat, but, you know, whatever, damage is damage, I guess. Anyways, now I bring in my Pert to take the Psyshock, as he ends up going for it, and, yeah, so I think I just go for an Earthquake here, because I was pretty sure he'd probably bring in the Zoroark predicting my rocks, so he brings in Hitmontop, which is fine. I go for the Earthquake, and it ends up being the Zoroark, so I know the Grass Knot is coming, so I bring in my Hitmontop, and he ends up getting a crit on the Grass Knot. So this is kind of why I say the paralysis kind of mattered, just because, you know, if this thing would have died, my Hitmontop wouldn't have taken that critical Grass Knot, and maybe I could have taken a Body Slam from this Snorlax and taken it out with a close combat, bit whatever, you know, hacks happens, whatever. And I bring my Victini, and I'm just going to go for the Fusion Bolt to take this thing out, and yeah. So now he brings in his Hitmontop, and I'm going to switch out into my Pert to take the Sucker Punch, and yeah, so he goes for it, and I do take it, and now I think I just go for a Scald, really hoping for the burn, but with my Scald luck, I'm obviously not going to get it, and yeah. So now I think that I just go for an Earthquake to get off a little bit of damage, as he ends up switching out into Slowbro, and yeah, so here I make what seems like a bad play, but I actually had a plan. And I go out in my Victini, and he ends up critting me on the Scald, sadly, and I calced it from a standard, no special attack investment Slowbro. Scald only does 45 through 50, which means I could have easily lived it. And I also calced how much the Choice Banded Fusion, I think it cut off a little bit there. Like I was saying, I also calced how much the Choice Banded Fusion Bolt does. It from that range, it should have killed, and if you would have brought in Hitmontop, on a defensive Hitmontop, it still does 25 to 35 after an Intimidate, which means if I would have gotten max damage, I pretty much could have killed it off in 2 hits, and if it would have lived the second one. And I also calced how much the Sucker Punch does on a standard defensive Hitmontop with no investment in attack. I do live it. It only does around 30%, I think, and yeah, and it could have either killed off the Hitmontop with the second Fusion Bolt, or if it would have lived, it would have lived with a very low amount of HP, and where I could have brought in my Pert, taken the Sucker Punch, and then just killed it off with a Scald or Earthquake. And if you would have brought in Slowbro, I would have set up my rocks, the Hitmontop would have died on the incoming switch, and then I pretty much would have just started spamming Earthquake on the Slowbro until I could bring in, until Swampert died, and I brought in my Victini and took out the Slowbro, but sadly that doesn't happen. Whatever, it was a pretty fun game anyways. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know I did. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out my opponent. He seems like a pretty cool dude. We talked a little bit after the battle. Add me on Skype, and yeah, peace out. See you guys later.